how do we characterize Trillanes and Marcos in relation to ICC? Yes, they are traitors to a Filipino and to the country. But more than that, ang ICC ay tuta ni Trillanes at ni Marcos.
Ang lahat po halos ng sinasabi ng Vice Presidente sa ngayon ay walang basihan, walang saysay, useless, at nonsense. Maaaring ito ay kanya nasasabi out of frustration dahil ang kanyang ama ngayon ay nililitis sa ICC.
Bakit ko nasabi na tuta ni Marcos? Kasi sumusunod sino yun? Sumusunod sila kay Trillanes at Marcos. At hindi lang yan. Pinapanindigan pa nila yung kanilang pagsunod kay Marcos at kay Trillanes. And so, this is not about justice. This is about politics in the Philippines.
Tandaan din po natin, uulit-ulitin natin, ang kaso na naisampa kay dating Pangulong Duterte ay noong taong pang 2017. Habang ang Pangulo, si Pangulong Marcos Jr. noon, ay isang ordinaryo at pribadong mamamayan lang. Hindi ito kasalanan ni Pangulong Marcos Jr. Tumutupad lang ang Pangulo sa batas.
Kung hindi niya yung binigay, hindi yun mapapapunta doon. Anong hindi niya kasalanan yun, Antikler? Kumusta mga kababayan? Magandang araw po sa inyong lahat. Panibagong araw, panibagong reaction video na naman ang hatid namin sa inyo. At dito nga mga kababayan, ay nagkaroon nga po ng mainit na sagutan itong si Yusek Claire Castro at itong si Vice President Sara Duterte. Kaugnay po ito ng mga naging pahayag ni Vice President Sara Duterte sa ginawang rally po dyan sa Dahig mga kababayan. At binigyan nga po ng matinding sagot at matinding banat itong si Yusek Claire ang mga naging pahayag na ito ni Vice President Sara Duterte. Ito, panoorin po natin. Pero bago yan, kung bago ka pa lang dito sa ating channel, ay mag-subscribe ka na at i-click mo na din ang notification bell para mag-update ka sa mga susunod pa natin video. Like at share mo din ang video ito sa iba pa nating mga kababayan. Maraming salamat.
Magsisimula ako sa paalala sa International Criminal Court na hindi nila pwedeng gamitin sa mga desisyon nila ang mga sinasabi natin patungkol sa kaso ni dating Pangulong Rodrigo Duterte, sa ating mga actions of support kay dating Pangulong Rodrigo Duterte, at syempre sa mga assessment at opinion natin. Dahil walang nagbabawal sa Rome Statute na ipahayag natin ang ating mga nararamdaman. Lahat ng kanilang pinapalabas, nire-release publicly, ay pwedeng pag-usapan at pwedeng bigyan ng komento. Kaya lagi kong sinasabi, kapag ako ay tinatanong, ano ang tingin ko sa desisyon na nilabas ng ICC? Ang sinasabi ko lagi, walang basihan sa batas. Ano ba ang pinagbasihan nila? Libro ng isang tao na hindi mo naman alam kung ano sa Pilipinas para ihatid diyan sa ICC. Let us start in the year 2017. In 2017, a lawyer submitted a communication to the International Criminal Court. And this was supplemented by a communication by former Senator Trillanes and another person. That was in 2017. In 2018, the court took it under consideration. Between 2017 until 2021, there was investigation, no investigation, put on hold. Let us start first with the complainant. Who is Trillanes? Trillanes is the person behind the Oakwood Mutiny and the Manila Peninsula Siege, which was against who? It was against President Gloria Macapagal Arroyo. Trillanes stood on the platform of anti-corruption against Arroyo. We do not know the dealings, the negotiations behind the mutiny and the siege. That is not discussed publicly. When did we next see Trillanes? We saw him next in the Jejomar Binay attack. Vice President Binay was a candidate, a presumptive candidate for the 2016 election. And then what did he do? He attacked Vice President Binay on the platform of anti-corruption. But you must remember, he never attacked President Aquino on the platform of anti-corruption. And you remember the DAP, the pork barrel scam of the Aquino administration. And where was Trillanes then?
Nothing.
Quiet. Because we do not know how much, where, how, when the negotiations happened. When did you see him again? Trillanes, hear about him again. You heard about him in 2016 because President Duterte was the front runner. In April 2016, President Duterte was already the front runner of the presidential elections. Everyone forgot about Mar Rojas, the candidate of Trillanes. Everyone was focused on Rodrigo Duterte, including Trillanes. This was the first time you heard about EJK, DDS, bank accounts, billions in the bank accounts. This was in 2016. In 2017, he filed the communication in ICC. And if you can remember, President Duterte never did anything against Trillanes, against the witnesses of Trillanes during the Senate hearing. He presented Bato-Bato, he presented Las Cañas, and he claimed so many things about the Davao Death Squad. And what did President Duterte do? He told everyone, pabayaan nyo yan. It is his right to speak. It is his freedom to talk about the Davao Death Squad. So that is... Okay ra ng payong, sir. Ay, ma'am. Sorry, ma'am. May panyo ako, ma'am. So that was Trillanes. That is Trillanes. Against Gloria Arroyo, anti-corruption. Against Binay, anti-corruption. Against Rodrigo Duterte, anti-corruption. EJK. But do you hear him speak of anti-corruption when it comes to President Aquino and President Marcos? No. Makes you question. What is the anti-corruption platform for? Whose interest is he serving?
Yellow.
This is yellow, pink, red. Lahat ng kulay, maliban lang sa green. Lucky Charm. Lahat. Maliban sa green at black.
Lucky charm.
Diba? He is quiet when negotiations happen for his interest. But if negotiations are for the interest of, against the interest of Trillanes, he is noisy. So that is 2017 and the background of the person who sent the communication to ICC. Now here comes ICC. Yes, we take it into consideration, and then yes, we will investigate. We will put on hold the investigation through the years, and then come 2021, we will investigate. And who is the person? Who was the prosecutor who finally defended the investigation? It was Prosecutor Karim Khan, who was dismissed for an entirely different issue, but there was one issue about Karim Khan in relation to the case of President Rodrigo Duterte. And what was it? He had conflict of interest because his previous work was representation of the victims of supposed EJK under the Commission on Human Rights in the Philippines. That was his conflict of interest. But did ICC say categorically that you have conflict of interest? No. They did not. They just said that the appearance of impropriety excludes him from this case. But how can you give credibility to an investigation by someone who represented the victims? And now you're saying he must be investigated and prosecuted. That is clear conflict of interest. It muddles the entire investigation. That is our complainant, that is our prosecutor. We go to jurisdiction. ICC said, we have jurisdiction because we took the complaint under consideration before the Philippines withdrew as a member of the International Criminal Court. And what does that mean? It means that if you take it under consideration, before withdrawal of a country, there will always be an open complaint, open under consideration, open investigation through the years, even if the ICC will not act on it. And is that justified? Of course not, because it will be a perpetual investigation. There must be an end to the perceived liability, to the under consideration, to the investigation. Otherwise, it will be 300 years from now, assuming this ICC will exist for 300 years, there will be an open, under consideration, complaint, communication inside the ICC. That is what the countries who are withdrawing now from the ICC should watch out. Because if there is something under consideration there, even if they withdraw 50 years from now, kung buhay pa yung ICC, they can file a case. That is why we have been saying, you have no jurisdiction. 2 years has passed since the withdrawal of the Philippines from the ICC before any formal inquiry was done. If that is allowed, then there will be no end to the ICC going after sovereign nations. That is jurisdiction. We go to how the ICC disregarded how former President Rodrigo Duterte was kidnapped from the Philippines. They say, it doesn't matter to us how he was taken, where he was taken, by what means he was taken. What matters to us was that he was delivered to The Hague and endorsed to the ICC. If this is about justice, then why does it allow injustice to happen to people who are respondents of communications, of complaints inside ICC? Next, we go to interim release, the release of President Duterte. There are three things in the Rome Statute that are to be considered before a release can be considered or granted to a respondent. First is that he is not a flight risk. Second is that he does not, will not, cannot obstruct the ongoing investigation. And third, he cannot continue to commit crimes under the ICC jurisdiction. You saw President Duterte being pushed, pulled outside of the room, pushed into a plane. Is that a person who is a flight risk? He cannot even walk 3 steps and fall to the ground. In fact, how many times has he slipped and hit his head in detention? No one can count anymore. And no one is talking about it. Because why? President Duterte is the Asian poster boy in answer to the attacks that ICC is only going after the black race. He is a flight risk because of the support of the Filipinos around the world. Is that an assessment, a correct measure of a flight risk? No. Second, he will cannot continue to interfere or obstruct any investigation. The investigation started when? When he was president. The witnesses, Matubato, Las Cañas, when? When he was president. And what did he do? Nothing at all. He allowed the ICC to say whatever it wants, to do whatever it wants, even when he was president. When he was former president, I told him, the ICC is doing an investigation. The investigators are coming in and out of the country. We have proof of immigration records. And what did he say to me? Pasagdi na sila. Di na sila pwede manghilabot sa atuang nasod. Pasagdi na sila magsulod gawas dinhi sa atuang nasod. And I knew that something was happening because I hear it from the office of the former speaker, Romualdez. And so I put it on record. What did I do? I wrote the president. Why is the ICC continuing the investigation inside the Philippines? And then he said, what did he say? He said, we will not cooperate in any shape or form with the ICC because it is an infringement in our sovereignty. On that point, he was correct. Because our judicial courts are functioning.
Yes.
We can go to court, file a complaint, the judge can hear it, the judge can decide, the judge can put you to jail easily. There is no breakdown of the judicial system in the Philippines. And so, any interference of the ICC is an affront to our sovereignty. And that is the only correct thing that Marcos did or Marcos said about ICC, that letter. But did he follow through on what he said? He presented a letter, he released an official letter, but his left hand was doing other negotiations. He was doing exactly the opposite of his letter. He was allowing the investigation to happen, supported by the House of Representatives and Antonio Trillanes. And so we go to the corruption in the investigation. Former soldiers, former employees of Congressman Zaldico already executed affidavits saying that they were told to exchange pesos to dollars because this will be delivered to the ICC investigators through Trillanes. And this is not hearsay because the person who did the delivery, who received the instructions, who went to the money exchange and exchanged for dollars, who delivered the money was the same person who talked to Zaldico. And so, how do we characterize Trillanes and Marcos in relation to ICC?
Snakes.
Yes, they are traitors to a Filipino and to the country. But more than that, ang ICC ay tuta ni Trillanes at ni Marcos. Yun yun.
Yes! Tuta talaga.
Because the ICC has no other case except for the case of President Rodrigo Duterte. And they found what? And they found Marcos, Trillanes, and money
Yeah.
in the Philippine case. Maleta ang pinag-uusapan dito. So where is the justice in all this? There is no justice for the Philippines, there is no justice for the Filipinos, and there is no justice for former President Rodrigo Duterte. That is true, ma'am. He's the poster boy right now of ICC. The one and only. Oh, we have an Asian now. We're done with the blacks. Let's go to the Asians. To hell with the whites. We cannot go after them. Let's go after this one person who was delivered by Marcos to us. So that is the complainant Trillanes, his cohort Marcos, the jurisdiction, the investigator, the investigation. Do you want to go to the evidence? What are they saying? They are saying there was what? How many? How many did the media portray? 30,000. And then it was reduced to 13,000. And now it is how many? 34? 32 counts.
31.
43.
Of murder. That amounts to, they say, crimes against humanity.
Liar. It's a lie.
The government has a policy of zero tolerance for illegal drugs. The Philippine government has a policy of zero tolerance for illegal drugs. How did the administration of President Duterte implement this policy? They created the drug war. That is the program. That is the anti-drug program. It is called drug war. Tukhang. Now, the implementation of a program, whether it was good or bad, is not a crime against humanity. It may be good governance or bad governance. It is the same. It is the same with how President Marcos is running the country right now. It can be good governance or it is clearly bad governance. That is not a crime against the Filipino population. How a program is implemented, whether there were mistakes, errors, it was a bad program, is not a crime against humanity. That is the crime that they are saying that President Duterte has done to the Filipino people. And they cannot even say right now if the victims are truly victims of the drug war. Because gun violence is so common in the Philippines.
Yeah.
I have a husband. My husband has a mistress. I can hire a gunman for 5,000 pesos to kill the mistress. That is how, for 5,000 pesos, that is how bad gun violence in the Philippines is. And that is, again, yes, EJK. So how can you say that all your listed victims, all your listed complainants are supposed victims of the drug war? It can be that it is a crime against passion. It can be murder because of a third party in a relationship. It can be plain hold up.
Yeah. Yeah.
So how can they say now that all the victims there are victims of the drug war that is supposed to be a crime against humanity? So that is the crime. And what are they doing right now? This is 1 year past the day President Duterte arrived in The Hague. How many years? 1 year and 1 year and 4 months. And nothing has happened in the case. It is an unjust delay and unjust detention of President Rodrigo Duterte. Mainly because he does not pose a flight risk. He will never impede, obstruct any investigation. We saw that already when he was president, when he was not president. And third, he will not continue to commit crimes kuno. Because that was a program during his administration, an implementation of a policy by government. How can an implementation of a policy by government be a crime against humanity? That is
Pilipinas tattoo.
the ICC and the case of Rodrigo Roa Duterte. They are holding an 81-year-old who cannot make his own bed, who cannot even clean his own room, who has bed sores, who has so many aches and pains because of old age. For who? For the reputation of ICC? For Marcos? For Trillanes? For money? For what? For whose interest is the ICC serving now?
Malita.
That is the case of Rodrigo Roa Duterte. He should be released, and he should be released immediately.
Amen. Bring him home.
Ma'am.
Yes, true.
Yes, that is true. If we want to go after supposed EJK, supposed murders, we can easily file it in Philippine courts.
Palitan mo na si Marcos!
Ma'am, sandali i-compartmentalize natin yung ating messaging. Today is about ICC. Yung sa London is about the country. We will not talk about Marcos, BBM today. We will only talk about Marcos in relation to ICC. Na tuta ni Marcos. Bakit ko nasabi na tuta ni Marcos? Kasi sumusunod sino yon? Sumusunod sila kay Trillanes at Marcos. At hindi lang yan. Pinapanindigan pa nila yung kanilang pagsunod kay Marcos at kay Trillanes. And so, this is not about justice. This is about politics in the Philippines. Because who was the first to be sent to detention? President Marcos. Next. President Duterte. Next. Pwede na. Parang wala na akong gagawin. Patuloy na siya. President Duterte. Who was next? Bato. Next. Marcoleta. Next.
Bongo!
Harry Roque. Bong Revilla, Jingoy Estrada, Mike Defensor. You see the pattern?
Cayetano.
So this is all about
Politics.
politics. Marcos supporting ICC, ICC supporting Marcos. If the ICC right now is fighting for its life because America, the United States, and its powerful allies are going after ICC. If the ICC wants the world to respect the institution, they should first know how to respect the law.
Yes! Correct.
Because this is The motto of institutions is bend the law. Bend the law for your
Convenience.
and for the interest of your allies. Mga kababayan, ang lahat ng ginagawa natin ay para sa Diyos, sa bayan, at para sa bawat pamilyang Pilipino.
At maaari na po akong tumanggap na inyong mga katanungan.
Unang tanong po mula kay Ivy Reyes, Bilyonaryo.
Yusek, good afternoon. VP Sara in The Hague said President Marcos is, quote, supporting the ICC, and the ICC is supporting Marcos. She also called the president a traitor, alongside former Senator Trillanes for sending FPRRD there. Ano po ang reaksyon ng Malacanang rito?
Ang lahat po halos ng sinasabi ng Vice Presidente sa ngayon ay walang basihan, walang saysay, useless, at nonsense. Maaaring ito ay kanya nasasabi out of frustration dahil ang kanyang ama ngayon ay nililitis sa ICC. Tandaan din po natin, uulit-ulitin natin, ang kaso na naisampa kay dating Pangulong Duterte ay noong taong pang 2017. Habang ang Pangulo, si Pangulong Marcos Jr. noon, ay isang ordinaryo at pribadong mamamayan lang. Hindi ito kasalanan ni Pangulong Marcos Jr. Tumutupad lang ang Pangulo sa batas.
Kung hindi niya yung binigay, hindi yun mapapapunta doon. Anong hindi niya kasalanan yun, antikler?
Kung meron dapat sisihin, walang iba, kundi ang kanyang sariling ama. Dahil sa mga pag-amin nito na siya mismo ay pumatay at nagpapatay. Kasama ang ibang mga co-perpetrators.
Ang galing gumawa ng kwento nito ni Antikler, eh, no?
Malamang ay ikanalulungkot lamang niya dahil ang ICC ay isang impartial court. Hindi maaaring gamitan ng impluensya at hindi kayang takutin, nasaktan o anumang pwedeng gawing karahasan. So, muli,
Talaga
ang
lang.
mga sinabi po ni Vice Presidente ay pawang walang katotohanan, useless, baseless, nonsense.
Yusek, nagbago na po ba yung pagtingin ng Pangulo na hindi tayo babalik sa ICC?
Sa ngayon ay wala pa rin pong anumang update. Katulad pa rin po ng aking sinabi, sa ngayon ay wala pa po na pag-uusapan kung kinakailangan ng mag-rejoin sa ICC.
Follow-up po, Ivan Mayrina, GMA News.
Yusek, maidagdag ko na rin, in describing gun violence, VP Sara in that same speech said that she can hire a gunman for 5,000 pesos in the Philippines to kill her husband's mistress, citing a hypothetical example. Your reaction to this, and how would the palace characterize gun violence in the Philippines?
Ang Pangulo po at ang administrasyon na ito ay kumakalaban po sa mga criminal acts, sa mga ginagawang krimen. Kung siya naman po pala ay mayroon ng kinalaman patungkol dito, hindi po ba dapat siya ay tumulong para ito ay mabawasan? Or at least maibigay niya ang datos patungkol dito. Matagal na siyang opisyal, matagal din namuno ang kanyang ama bilang presidente.
At maraming nasihan sa pamumuno ni dating Pangulong Duterte. Baka dati, isa ka na dun sa natuwa dun sa pagiging tahimik ng lansangan. Eh, syempre ngayon, hindi mo na isasabihin.
Bakit kaya hindi ito nasawata kung totoo ang kanyang binabanggit patungkol dito?
Wala ka ba nabalitaan nung karang administrasyon?
Dapat siya na ang nauna na ito ay pigilan at hindi i-promote ang pagkausap sa isang assassin para pumatay sa taong kanyang kinaiinisan o sa taong siya ay galit.
Next question po.
Invento ka na naman eh.
Radyo.
Yusek, good afternoon po. Ma'am, sa 10th day ng impeachment trial kahapon, may reaction po ba ang Malacanang kung meron lang po? Regarding po sa testimony ng dalawang dating Land Bank branch manager, kaugnay ng withdrawal ng confidential funds ng OBP at DepEd under po ni BP Sara noon. Naniniwala po ba ang palasyo na ang naging testimony ng mga bank managers ay nagpapakita ng kahalagahan ng accountability sa paggamit ng confidential funds?
Mahalaga po kasi na magkaroon po talaga ng transparency and accountability. Ang napatunayan lamang po kahapon ay talagang nagkaroon ng withdrawal ng funds or pera mula sa mga nasabing bangko. At yun ay hindi naman pinasinungalingan. Kung ang nakita nila ng mga bank representatives ay unusual ito, ang dapat sigurong gawin ng mga opisyal ng bangko. Unusual ito, so ito ba ay masasabing dapat na i-report sa AMLAC? Official man, public official, government, private, kung nakita nilang unusual, hindi po ba dapat ito ay na-i-report sa AMLAC? Siguro, yun lang po yung naging kakulangan dahil sa ngayon, ang batas natin ay sapat at kinakailangan lamang pong sundin. Nagiging problema lamang po dito na kahit meron tayong batas, pero pilit na nilalabag.
Pilit na binibendalo.
Para sa sariling interes. So, ang kailangan lang po ay mga tao na magpapa-implement ito at susunod sa batas.
Ma'am, follow up. May nakikita po bang pangangailangan ang Malacanang na repasuhin ang mga patakaran sa pag-withdraw at pag-monitor ng confidential funds ng mga ahensya ng gobyerno kasunod po ng naging testimonya ng dalawang bank managers?
Katulad na aking sinabi, kompleto sa ngayon ang ating batas. Kung malinis lang ang tao, kung walang balak na gumawa ng anumang anomalya o pagnanakaw ng pondo, ang batas ay dapat na sinusunod. Kung kinakailangan mag-withdraw ng ganong kalaking halaga, let's say 125 million pesos in just one day, hindi po yun masama kung gagamitin sa tama. So kahit sabihin natin na may batas pa kung papaano ito i-withdraw, magkano lang ang limit na halaga na dapat na i-withdraw, hindi pa rin ito masasagot. Hindi pa rin ito ang solusyon kung hindi magbabago ang tao na maaaring nagnanakaw ng pondo. Ang dapat nating ripasuhin ay yung mga tao na merong intensyon na gumawa ng mali sa pondo ng bayan. Yun ang dapat natin na pahintuin.
Next question po, Samuel Medinilla, Business Mirror.
Grabe talaga.
Good afternoon, ma'am. Kahapon po, sabi po ng Department of Finance, kailangan daw po ng government mag-implement ng new excise and health taxes para ma-offset yung 66 billion foregone revenue sa proposed tax relief package na na-announce po ni President Marcos nung sa recent SONA po niya. I-ask ko lang po, which tax bills ang isa-certify po kaya ni President as urgent para po ma-afford ng government yung new tax relief package at saka magkano po kaya yung expected revenue na ma-generate nung bawat new tax bill na ipopropose po ng DOF?
Opo, sa ngayon ay pinag-aaralan na po ng DOF yung mga tax measures at ang posible na maaaring magkaroon ng pagbabago o reforma ay yung excise and health tax cases, no? About na maaaring mag-offset sa maaaring mawala na revenue ng gobyerno na nakakahalaga nga ng 66 billion pesos. Malaking halaga po ito na supposed to be ay talagang pwedeng ipangtulong sa ating mga programa at proyekto. At ina-assure po ng gobyerno at ng pamahalaan na lahat po ng measures ay dadaan sa pag-aaral para hindi po naman masyado maapektuhan din yung ibang mga investors natin at mas maganda ang maging maidulot nito sa ating mga kababayan.
I-verify ko lang po kung yung doon po ba sa na-propose na tax measures ng DOF, kasama po doon yung vaping products, sugary drinks, at saka po yung single-use plastic.
Kinukonsidera po siya. So, we wish lang na lahat ng pwedeng ma-increase ng mga tax sa ibang mga items ay ma-offset nga po yung maaari maging losses sa revenue.
Wala pa pong estimate yung government kung magkano po yung ma-generate doon sa mga proposed tax measures niya.
Sa ngayon wala pa, inaaral pa Sam.
Tapos i-ask ko na lang rin po kung kinukonsider po ba ng Malacanang ang other measures to finance yung tax relief package bukod po doon sa tax bills like more cost cutting or other revenue streams.
Sa ngayon, tinitignan yung pinakadetalye at lahat ng proposals kasi pag-aaralan dahil ito nga ay nabanggit ng Pangulo na nais niya talaga na matulungan, especially yung mga middle income. Lahat pong ito ay gagawin para po maipasang mabilis itong mga tax laws na ito na nais ng Pangulo.
Last na lang po. Nung in-announce po ni Pangulo sa SONA niya yung proposal doon sa tax reform package, bali hindi pa po doon kasama yung mga proposed na additional taxes. Kinukonsider po ba ng government na i-consolidate na lang lahat ng mga tax-related na legislation sa isang bill? Or hiwalay-hiwalay pa rin po siya?
Sa ngayon, Sam, wala pa tayong detalye. At malamang ay kapag nagkaroon na ng sapat na pag-aaral dyan, ay ibibigay din po ito at ididetalye na ni Secretary Frederick Go.
Thank you po, ma'am.
Next question po, Rafi Ayeng, Daily Tribune.
Magandang hapon, ma'am. Ma'am, sa issue po ng systems loss removal, sabi po ni Meralco Chairman Manuel Pangilinan, and I quote, "It's a big bill for the industry because it cuts across generation, transmission, and distribution. The bill is too big for the industry to absorb all of it. So there's got to be that discussion. It's going to impact the entire power industry in this country."
Maganda po na senyales yan, although marami po talagang pagdaraanan na pag-aaral at maraming maapektuhan, but at least nakikita po natin na open sila for discussion. At ngayon ay kinuha ko rin po, dahil nga po nabalitaan natin yan, kinuha ko na rin po mismo ang mensahe ni Secretary Sharon Garin. Ang sabi po ni Secretary Sharon Garin ng DOE, "We are currently studying the regulations of ERC, legislations, and other policies and doing consultations with stakeholders. The objective is to lower electricity rates, and I ask for patience and cooperation of all stakeholders while we craft the policies." So, lahat po ito ay inaaral at bubuuin po ng hindi naman po masyadong burdensome din sa iba nating mga kababayan at sa mga investors and utility companies.
Follow-up question po, Ivy Reyes, Billionaire.
Naunang i-announce kaysa aralin. Inama na.
Yusek, open po ba ang Malacanang to discuss conditions from rural electric cooperatives? Kasi po ang sabi nila hindi naman nila kasalanan na may system loss at hindi rin daw po dapat sila o yung National Power Corporation ang mag-shoulder nito, kaya they're asking for condition na dapat may tax exemption mechanism.
Kaya nga po, lahat po ng stakeholders na mayroong mga ganyang concern, mas maganda po talaga na madinig kayong lahat kasi para kung ano man yung maaaring maging issue ay marisolba para hindi po lahat ay magkaroon ng pasanin. At ito naman po ay para din sa ating mga kababayan. So, tutulong tayo sa ating mga kababayan pero syempre po yung mga involved sa ganitong industry ay hindi naman din po dapat na makarga ng sobra ang maaaring maging issue patungkol dito. So lahat po yan ay dapat na bigyan ng solusyon.
Next question po, Katrina Domingo, ABS-CBN.
Good afternoon, Undersecretary. Two-prong questions on the Pax Silica. First, ano po yung reaksyon ng Malacanang na ang second in command is not yet aware of this big-ticket project of the government? And second, ano po yung response ng palasyo at ng administrasyon doon sa mga stakeholder calls para ipasara or wag ituloy yung Pax Silica project?
Sa unang tanong, again, pakiulit una muna tayo.
Ano po yung reaksyon ng palasyo tungkol doon sa fact na ang second in command is not that aware of the government's big ticket project?
I have no comment.
Paano hindi nyo pinaalam?
Why so?
Nakita naman natin sa video. So, ano pa ba ang kailangang i-explain? So, hayaan na lang po natin.
On the second point po, ano po yung tugon ng palasyo dun sa calls to stop the PAC Silica project over issues po ng electricity use, water use, as well as yung hindi daw po na-coordinate dun sa mga local stakeholders doon sa site?
Actually, kaya nga po ito ay inihahayag ng ating pamahalaan patungkol sa PAC Silica dahil kung sino man po yung ibang mayroong issue patungkol sa di umano magiging problema sa supply ng tubig, sa supply ng kuryente. Lahat pong ito ay isinasaalang-alang ng pamahalaan.
Ma'am, so hindi pa siya done deal because as far as we are concerned, this will be part of the Luzon Economic Corridor that has already been agreed upon even during the Biden administration when President Marcos flew to Washington, D.C. So ibig sabihin po, hindi pa final yung PAC Silica project. May chance pa po na hindi ito ituloy ng Marcos administration? Ganun po ba?
May chance po na mabago ang ibang mga provisions. Kung ano po yung maaari pang mas maging maganda ang idulot sa ating mga kababayan.
So, ibig sabihin, tuloy na yan. Wala nang makakapigil yan. Mga provision lang babaguhin pero yung proyekto nakakasa na talaga.
Sa bansang Pilipinas, and of course, sa mga partners, yun naman po ay isasaalang-alang.
Ma'am, last from my end on PAC Silica, this kind of message, hindi po ba magsisend siya ng worry towards investors that the president has been trying to court towards the country because it creates uncertainty na meron ng ganitong project but apparently hindi pa po cast in stone yung ibang provisions?
Hindi naman po dahil ngayon po ay talagang inaayos natin. Again, sa mga may mga issues patungkol po dito, mas maganda po makipag-usap po tayo sa mga concerned agencies patungkol po sa PAC Silica para kung anuman ang inyong mga naiisip na magiging problema, ito po ay mabigyan ng solusyon.
Next question po, Allen Limos, The Manila Times.
Good afternoon, Yusek. Would like to jump on the PAC Silica issue ulit po. There were reports po that Capas Mayor Butch Rodriguez says na, and I quote, although the area is under the administration of BCDA, it's still in Capas and kami yung closest community na maapektuhan. The plan is hindi pa po siya napapresenta sa amin. He also questioned how the government will cushion the environmental impact sa community and
Sipin niyo yung mga kababayan, yung proyekto na binabalak nilang itayo hindi nila pinalam doon sa mga tao na maaring maapektuhan kung meron mang masamang epekto yon. Napakahusay.
also may reports din po na despite earlier claims of the BCDA, meron nga pong maapektuhan na IP community there, which is the first IP community recorded in the town po. And reactions?
Naku po, meron pa palang mga IP na madadamay.
Actually, because of this issue, minabuti po namin na makausap mismo si BCDA President and CEO Joshua Bincang. At hindi po dapat na hindi makausap ang lahat na maaaring involved. So ito po ang tugon. Ibibigay ko po sa inyo para na rin po sa lahat ng maaari pang magtanong kung bakit hindi sila na-consult or may issue sa ganito, may issue sa ganyan. So ito po ang kanyang mensahe. And I quote, "The Bases Conversion and Development Authority has conducted initial meetings with LGUs and government agencies on New Clark City's development plans, including the proposed PAC Silica initiative. These consultations are ongoing, and we will continue to work closely with these stakeholders as the project progresses. At present, BCDA
Initial meeting, no? Hindi nga nila alam eh. Hindi nga daw sila na-inform eh.
is undertaking ground assessment activities in the area. These activities are being carried out to ensure that planning and decision-making are based on accurate assessment on the ground and are conducted in a responsible and orderly manner. End of quote. So, kung meron pong pahatid na mensahe, si Kapas Mayor, pinaabot na rin po namin kay CEO Joshua Bingkang para po maaga niya at mabilis niya makausap po si Kapas Mayor.
Last question po, Dexter Cabalza, Inquirer.net.
Good afternoon po, Yusek. Mag-ask lang po ng confirmation if President Marcos has already given authorization to BIR Commissioner Mendoza to submit tax records of PP Sara Duterte and Mans Carpio to the Senate Impeachment Court.
So, ang tinatanong niya ay kung nag-approve na or nagbigay na ng clearance ang Pangulo sa BIR upang mabuksan ang tax records ni VP Sara at saka ni Attorney Mans Carpio. Yes.
Follow. Ay, sige, follow.
Hindi makikialam yan, ha?
Sige. Ano po yung reason po ni President Marcos and how did he arrive in this decision po? Kasi during the past meetings po parang sinasabi ninyo na he does not want to get involved with the impeachment trial considering na he is also an impeachable officer.
Yes, but yung huli po nating sinabi, kung ano ang sinasabi ng batas, kung ano ang proseso, susunod po ang Pangulo. So kung yan ang sinasabi po at kinakailangan na magbigay siya ng kanyang approval sa BIR para mabuksan ang tax records nila VP Sara at ni Atty. Mans Carpio, at ito naman ay para sa katotohanan. Hindi niya po ipagkakait ang katotohanan sa ating mga kababayan.
Buksan na lahat, pati yung sa inyo. Lahat ng nandiyan sa gobyerno para pare-pareho ng magkaalaman.
Follow-up question po. Ace Romero. Ace Romero, Philippine Star.
So, Yusek, paano naman yung sinabi nyo dati na, di ba may magiging president ito, so yung mga succeeding na mga administrations, pag yung presidente naman ang na-impeach, they might block the opening of records kung records silang involved. So what do you say to that naman?
Yes, it can be. But hinihingi po ito ngayon na pagkakataon. At yun po ang sinasabi ng mga nasa Senado. Yan po ang hiniling. Kahit na po si Senator Lacson, yan din po ang ating nadinig. Hindi po magiging hadlang si Pangulong Marcos Jr. sa paglabas ng katotohanan.
For sure, there will be claims again that this is politically motivated. Magkakaroon ng mga ganong opinion for sure yung mga kritiko ng Pangulo about it. Ano magiging reaksyon ng Malacanang kung magkakaroon ng ganong mga pananaw?
Sa lahat naman ng pagkakataon, kapag ang Pangulo ay gumagawa ng naaayon sa batas pero merong tinatamaan, laging sasabihin nila, politically motivated. So saan pupunta? Saan gagawi ang Pangulo? Kahit ano pang sabihin ng iba. Basta ang alam ng Pangulo, siya ay tumutupad sa proseso, siya ay tumutupad sa batas, kahit siya pa ay paringgan o bigyan ng negatibong impresyon, hindi matitinag ang Pangulo. Basta siya ay sa batas at sa proseso.
Salamat po.
Yan po ang mga tanong, Yusek. Back to you.
At yun na nga mga kababayan, hanggang dito na lang po ang ating video. Kung ano man po ang inyong opinion sa video ito, ay comment nyo lang po sa baba at ating pag-uusapan. Naway maging kabahagi pa tayong lahat tungo sa pagsulong at pagunlad ng ating pinakamamahal na bansang Pilipinas. Ingat po kayo palagi at maraming salamat.